And joining us right now is the CEO of one of the rare instances of a team being 5-6, still in the mix for a playoff spot, and potentially being more resilient than the team that went to the Super Bowl last year. What a season for the San Francisco 49ers, and a good friend of the program, the CEO of the team, Jed York, joining me here on the show. How are you, Jed?
I'm good, Rich. Thanks for having me, man.
You bet. So your team is currently, they flew to Arizona last night, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So they are there right now, and they're there for 2 weeks. And interestingly enough, of your 5 games remaining, you play in that building 3 times. 2 is the home team, and 1 is the away team, right? That's the
well, I think we're there for at least 3 weeks. We'll stay there before we play Dallas as well.
Okay.
And we'll travel from Arizona to Dallas. So, I mean, our hope is that Santa Clara County lifts its restrictions, which they said was going to be December 21st. So we're hopeful that we can come home the week of Christmas. But, you know, obviously everything is going to remain in the air until we see where the number of COVID cases and hospitalization rates and things like that go.
Now, look, Jed, the situation could not be more sensitive. I understand that, because every team in the National Football League wants to be part of the community and a good neighbor. And, you know, but you also want to be home. You've got a competition here, and you also have players who want to be home with families and home for, as you mentioned, the holidays, as opposed to going straight from Dallas back to Arizona to prepare to be the road team in that game. So how did this all come about? Can you walk me through how the talks with Santa Clara County
well, I mean, the talk
here?
started obviously back in March, and working with the NFL protocols and things like that, and getting the county comfortable and up to speed with what the NFL and the 49ers were doing. And as cases started to rise, you know, we've had conversations with the county. You know, they wanted to put, you know, in sort of a soft bubble, so to speak, into place, and we've been talking to them for about a week about doing that. But they made the decision, obviously, with their announcement publicly as we were boarding our buses to go to L.A., that they were shutting down not just, you know, sports, but a lot of other businesses and a lot of other things. So we, you know, after working with them for a week, we're a little blindsided by that. But obviously, the health and safety of the community is the most important thing. And like anything in football, you know, you get thrown, you know, obstacles in your way, and we had to come up with an answer fairly quickly.
So when you say soft bubble, because my colleague Mike Garafolo of the NFL Media Group and NFL Network discussed it on air yesterday, that agents of players on your team were telling him that management of the 49ers had broached the idea of a soft bubble and that they were into it until Santa Clara County made its decision. What is that soft bubble idea that you were forwarding to the players?
I mean, there were a lot of things that were in place. I mean, essentially just keeping our players, you know, at the facility, at Levi's for games, and then being able to go to away games. And that was essentially all we were allowed to do. And not just players, I mean, me included, our coaches, our staff. And we were willing to do that, and the players were willing to do that to be able to stay with their families. You know, obviously, everybody is sacrificed. This isn't just the 49ers. It's not just us. Everybody is obviously sacrificed throughout this pandemic. But our guys were willing to do that to stay with their families. And unfortunately, that wasn't able to remain in place. And that's why, you know, thinking about the future, I'm hopeful that we're home by December 21st. And if not, we've been working with our players and the league and trying to figure out a safe way to be able to get players' families to them in Arizona, obviously, if we're not allowed to return home.
So, a lot of moving parts, my word. So,
yeah, there are.
So, again, it could not be more sensitive, because you want to be home for Christmas, and your home is in Santa Clara County, and you said you were a little blindsided. So how do you have talks with a county that, it seems from what you're saying, let it be known to the world before, you know, reaching out to you that you know how to find a new place to go, Jed?
I mean, honestly, like we can't take offense to it. There's more people in Santa Clara County than just the San Francisco 49ers. So obviously the folks that are affected the most, the frontline workers, the nurses, the doctors, people that are dealing with this every day, like it's not just us. So obviously whatever the county needs to decide to figure out what they think keeps everybody safe, we will abide by, and we have to deal with that. So I mean, this isn't I don't think that they tried to single out the 49ers and do something to harm the 49ers. I think they're trying to make the right decisions for the county. And unfortunately, as cases rise in Santa Clara County, we had to make adjustments. And I couldn't be more proud of our players for making those adjustments, or more thankful to Michael Bidwell and the Cardinals and the entire state of Arizona for opening their arms and welcoming us. And thankfully they have NFL-ready facilities, and our home schedules match up well with the Cardinals, so we can actually make the most of it and go somewhere and hopefully finish out the season strong. So,
and on that front, was there any consideration given to staying closer to home for you, like the old Raider Stadium in Oakland, or maybe the home of the San Francisco Giants, or anything like that? Was any consideration given to that, Jed York?
So we talked to the mayors of both Oakland and San Francisco, and they were extremely helpful, but obviously it's not just their decision. The county health officials are the ones that ultimately are making decisions right now, and it was very prohibitive for us to be able to do that, especially with having to travel outside of the county and come back, and with the quarantine that's in place. It wasn't going to work, and we certainly weren't going to skirt any of the guidelines and not abide by the county guidelines. If we came back into the county, you're supposed to quarantine in your house for 14 days, and that obviously wouldn't be feasible if we left. So knowing that this could go through December 21st and potentially longer, we needed to find another alternative. The mayor of San Diego offered up a lot of help, which would have been fantastic. Unfortunately, there wasn't a stadium for us to be able to play in San Diego, and that's why Arizona ended up becoming the best option of, obviously, not the easiest situation to deal with.
49ers CEO Jed York joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. Okay, then. So do you think that your stay in Arizona, to use a phrase, I guess, you already did this in West Virginia in between weeks 2 and 3, between your Jets and Giants games. The Patriots are coming out here to Los Angeles, and I'm assuming going to stay out here as well. Do you think these situations, bubbling up, soft bubbles, however you want to put it, is something that could potentially be a test case for the NFL when the playoffs roll around for all NFL teams, Jed?
Well, I know in talking with Dr. Sills and the commissioner, I mean, they're looking at everything. Right now, I think our protocols are working fairly well. Obviously, there are some teams that have had COVID issues, but I think they've done a very good job of containing it within the teams. And that's a decision that I wouldn't make. I wouldn't be privy of making, but I think the league is going to look at anything that takes place, and whatever they feel like is going to keep our players as safe as possible and give us the best chance of finishing the season, getting through the playoffs. I'm sure anything and everything is on the table. I think Roger said that yesterday before the Steelers-Ravens game.
Right.
I think everything's on the table, and at least now, instead of hypothetically saying, does a bubble work and does this work, you'll at least have a sense of, this is what the 49ers are doing. Is there a place to do that? I know, talking to Kevin Demoff before the game last week, LA is fortunate enough to have multiple stadiums that play host to big events, whether it's the Rose Bowl, the Coliseum, obviously the beautiful stadium at SoFi. He's talked about a potential soft bubble in LA as an alternative for the playoffs. So, I think there are a lot of options out there, and people that are much smarter than me and actually understand infectious disease and obviously the safety that comes with that, they'll be the ones making the decisions, and we just need to be prepared to execute whenever we're called on.
But yeah, come on, you're smart, Jed. You went to Notre Dame, but put it all
Number
together.
2 team in the country. I can't remember. How's your team doing?
Come on, Jed, you walked right into it.
I walked right into it, but I just wanted to get it out of the way. We're having a real conversation. We're having a real conversation, but there has been an elephant in the room the entire time. I just wanted to address it before moving on.
Proud of the Irish. Proud of the Irish.
But the conversations amongst ownership, though, a Week 18 and pushing playoffs and pushing the Super Bowl back. what are those conversations that you're willing to share, that you've had, that fans are wondering about as we're watching certain games being played on time despite roster problems for teams? You had one of them on a Thursday night a few weeks ago against Green Bay, and other games being pushed like the Thanksgiving game. So what has been discussed that you're willing to share with us here amongst ownership about moving things around for the playoffs and the end of the season?
I mean, I think they have flexibility. I don't know, what all the flexibility is, but there certainly seems to be flexibility to be able to move things around if need be. And I know for us, you referenced the Thursday night game against Green Bay. We had a false positive with Kendrick Bourne, and 2 or 3 close contacts with starters. You lose another starting receiver, a left tackle, and it's easy to complain, but those are the rules. It was set out very clearly from the beginning, and the NFL is going to do everything that they can to, number one, make sure that people are safe and that you're not transmitting COVID on the field. And to my knowledge, there hasn't been a single case of transmission on the field. And I know that we all have to be flexible. I'm hopeful that we are in a playoff conversation, and if they want to put us in a bubble anywhere, I'm sure our guys would sign up for it if they want to just erase the next 5 weeks of the season and give us a better opportunity to defend the NFC crown that we won last year. But we have no idea what's going to take place, and I know that the NFL and Dr. Sills and all the infectious disease people that they're talking to, they will have multiple options for us, and they'll put us in a position that's going to be as safe as possible.
So how does that work? Like everybody Zooms together and a decision gets made amongst the 32 members?
The Zooms are interesting. When you have people that Zoom is probably not their technology of choice. It's fun to see who's on mute and who's not, and how they do it. And I mean, I won't name names, but when you have people calling out other people on Zoom and they think they're on mute, it's pretty entertaining.
No, come on, Jed, that's happened.
It's pretty entertaining.
Has that you're saying a member of the National Football League has talked about another member of the National Football League thinking they have muted on Zoom and they have not? Is that what you're saying to me right now?
I mean, I may be intimating that could be correct. It's funny. I wish that the Zooms were broadcast like
so
nationally.
Do I. Oh my gosh,
they're fantastic.
So do I. All right. This is out of all the news that we might be talking about right now. That to me is
what does it rhyme with?
I'm not going to go there, but it's it's hard to communicate. When you've got 32 teams and folks are on Zoom, like it's just not the easiest thing to do. And generally, we are a committee-driven league.
Yes.
So the committees, I think, are doing great work. That's a little bit easier to do on Zoom and to do sort of separately. But it's been challenging to bring everybody together like everybody else is dealing with. It's hard to bring a large group of people. And in the NFL, when you have 32 owners and a commissioner and people that work at the league office, you have a lot of important people that want to have their voices heard. And it's challenging.
That's why I brought it up, Jed, is that because these are decisions that might have to be made in real time, on the fly. Things are happening. I mean, as fans are watching week in and week out, COVID-19 list, this player's on it, that player's on it, this person's off it, that person's off it. This game's going to have to be played, even though a team like yours was without a left tackle. The starting quarterback was already hurt. I mean, it could have helped to have that game for you pushed 2 games, 2 days.
Could have, but again, we have to make sure that health and safety is the most important thing. And, again, our protocols are in place. Our guys know what the protocols are. And, you just have to live with those consequences. And I don't know that it would have made a difference. Obviously, Green Bay is rocking and rolling right now. I hope that it would have made a difference, but I don't know. I hope we get an opportunity to play those guys again.
What's it like being the owner of? Because you're hearing so many other teams talking about scheme this, scheme that. The scheme doesn't fit. The scheme doesn't. And your coach is a master schemer. What's that like? For you?
We're very fortunate to have John and Kyle together.
Right.
Those guys are great. And one of our beat reporters, Matt Mayoko, asked me earlier today about the coach and GM that we're going up against, and Coach McDermott and Brandon Beane, who we also interviewed when we hired Kyle and John, and those two guys are doing a heck of a job. They're on the same page. Kyle and John are on the same page, and it speaks volumes. You have no idea what your opponents are going to be throughout the season. You don't know if you're going to have a pandemic to deal with. You don't know if you're going to be, forced to leave your home and go somewhere else for weeks or potentially 5 weeks at a time. You have no idea, and that's very, very hard. Not to mention you have to play, great teams on Sundays or Monday nights or whenever we're playing, and to have John and Kyle there together, knowing that they're on the same page, battling through all this stuff together, it definitely helps you sleep at night.
Well, I mean, and for you too, you went through a period there where you were one and doneing, and not because that was your plan at all, but you've got this in place, and you're coming off of what you came off last year, and your team is at 5-6, still in this mix with a possibility to get some of your guys back. What is that like for you, Jed? Seriously, having gone through all that.
Especially in this season. I go back to a conversation I had with the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, and I said, look, this isn't about, financial results for us this year. Like, if it was about finance and the bottom line, I'd ask you to cancel the season because we would financially be better off not playing. But there's no possible way that the 49ers weren't going to do everything that we could to defend the NFC West Championship, defend the NFC Championship last year, and knowing that, people look forward to Sundays. They look forward to Monday nights. They look forward to Thursdays and even sometimes Wednesday afternoons. The NFL is such a big piece of our country. 20% of Americans watch an NFL game on Sundays. A third of the country watches the Super Bowl. Like, we wanted to make sure that we did everything that we could to play this season. And watching our guys go through all of this stuff. I mean, Raheem Mostert, I don't know if you saw his...
Oh, we talked about it. That was incredible.
Raheem summed it up. Our guys, I realize that our players make more money than the average American, but they also work for maybe 4 to 5 years. And guys need to make decisions on what they want to do. And Raheem made the decision to step away from his family to try to keep them safe and go to work. And if you can't respect that, and the same way that you have to respect the way a nurse leaves her family or his family to go in to help other people, there's a lot of people that are doing those things right now. And, you just have to be proud of them, and you have to be proud to see a team come together under very, very adverse circumstances.
Jed, appreciate the time. So much so, I'm going to leave you with a suggestion, okay? Because I like making guests and guests who I appreciate better than when I found them, okay? I'm going to make you a suggestion here. Okay, Jed?
You can either go to graduate school in Michigan?
No.
I wasn't sure.
No. Actually, this is, something I'm still going to suggest, making you better despite that swipe. You can take this and use it or not, but I imagine when you are in the home of the Arizona Cardinals, you as the home team will have control of the scoreboard and everything, right? This is your home team.
They've been awesome about all that
great
stuff.
So, right when the Bills come out, you put the Hail Murray up there, and you just blast it, okay? Because they're going to be a little spooked coming back in that building. I know it's a new building for you as a home team, but you've been there before. Bills, the whole thing, the whole thing, the sound full of the call. You put Kyler Murray to DeAndre Hopkins up there, and just keep rolling it over and over again as they're on the field.
It may frighten us too because we've got to be there in 4 weeks to play those guys.
No, so. I know that, but it's 1 week at a time league. You know that, Jed. Come on, no?
It is.
Just survive in advance. Move on.
How fired up do you think Chris Berman is to watch the Niners and the Bills play this week?
I didn't even think of Boomer. I circle the wagons. Hey.
It was his Super Bowl pick for 15 years straight.
That's right.
He was right most of the time.
And Boomer will be on at halftime of that game. I'm sure you've just given him out. He probably had that idea anyway.
Oh, I'm sure.
Jed, thanks for the call. You take care.
Appreciate it, guys. Stay safe and hope to see you in person soon.
You got it. That's Jed York, the CEO of the San Francisco 49ers. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.